Ladies, we're going to go ahead and get started today because we want to be sure to let everyone out in time to go back to work or perhaps stay and visit for a while. The sound of your visiting is just a lovely sound that we all appreciate so much, and we're glad you're enjoying your time. I'm Dr. Susan Blassingame, Dean of the J.E. and Eileen Hancock College of Liberal Arts and Education. We at LCU are delighted to welcome all of you to the inauguration week of L. Timothy Perrin, the sixth president of Lubbock Christian University. And today we are so glad that you could join us at this luncheon to honor our new First Lady, Lucy Perrin. The Perrins have been on campus since June, and already they have become a huge part of our LCU family. We're already thinking about how grateful we are that they've decided to join us here and to lead us as we go forward. We have a great program for you today. We're really looking forward to all that you will hear. I think you'll have a great time. Please enjoy your meal as the program begins.
Good morning. I'm Tia Clary, Vice President of Financial Affairs here at Lubbock Christian University, and we want to take a moment this morning to recognize some important guests. So when I call your name, if you would please stand so that we can recognize you. The founding members of the LCU Associates, if you would please stand. The founding members. Now, I know you're out there. Wanda, do you need to start shouting out names? Okay, all of the members then of the LCU Associates, please stand. Thank you, ladies. We also want to recognize Vicki Hicks. She's with Congressman Randy Nagelbauer's office. If she would please stand. And then we have some members of family members here today that we want to recognize. Lucy Perrin's mother, Greta Leard, if she would please stand right over here. And then President Perrin's family, we have his sister-in-law, Dawn Perrin, and his nieces, Sarah Clark and Amy Ryder, if you would please stand. And then we would also like to recognize three members of our Board of Trustees. We have Sheila Dye. And who else do we have here? Melissa Roberts, is she here? I don't know if we... Okay, and Agnes Dent. Right over here. And the last person we would like to recognize will not be happy that she is receiving a formal introduction, but her family and have been quiet supporters of Lubbock Christian for many years, and are a big reason that we are sitting in this beautiful facility, the Lennis and Verdi Baker Conference Center. So if Verdi Baker would please stand. Right over here. Thank you, Verdi.
I'm honored to introduce the fourth First Lady of LCU, Emily Young Limley, who received her doctorate from Texas Tech, completed in 1990, and listen to this carefully, while she had children at home and while she was president of the LCU Associates. And during that period of working on her doctorate, she served as editor of Power for Today, was teaching as an English adjunct at LCU, and served as the fourth First Lady of Lubbock Christian University. And her husband said, with all of the hopes and challenges thereto appertaining. She always tells me that it was just a joy. That sounds like it was more of a challenge. She still serves as editor of Power for Today. She has spoken to thousands of women over the last 30 years in retreat settings and at lectureships. She is active on the board of the Christian Chronicle, and she serves from 1993 to 97. She was Associate Director of Church Relations at Pepperdine. Her primary responsibility, and I think how we all know her, is through her editing and writing, and she did a lot of that for the Pacific Church News. And from 98 until 2011, she was teaching director for the Community Bible Study in Malibu. Steve shared this fact, and I just think it's lovely. This is absolutely his writing. I'm not claiming for it. Just before the Limleys moved to Lubbock, for almost 8 months, she and Stephen lived with 47 Pepperdine students, mostly aged 20, in a big old house in Heidelberg, Germany. The Limleys have 3 children: David, married to Angie, who lives in Malibu with their 3 children, Maddox, Asher, and Declan. Amy is married to Jeff Carey, who teaches Bible here, and they have 3 children, Anna, Tyler, and Olivia. Mark is married to Tasha, and they live in Nashville. I think what most people who know Emily will say about her is that she is a lovely Christian woman whose smile and warmth make all of us feel welcomed. We are so grateful that she is with us today. Please welcome Emily Limley.
Thank you so much, Susan. It was a beautiful introduction and intimidates even me. But I am honored to get to introduce. I'm being introduced, and I'm getting to introduce Lucy Perrin, whom, if you heard her chapel talk, you know what a wonder she is. And she is exactly who she appears. Every woman has different gifts, and every woman is called to her role in her specific time. But I think Lucy Perrin's gifts and her work up to now prepare her for this unique role at Lubbock Christian University. Steve and I know firsthand what a hard job this is. And it was such a relief for me to pass it on to Susie Jones, who has so beautifully represented LCU to all students and supporters during its most dynamic last 19 years so far. Her loving humility and calming presence, I think, attracted so many people to the university. And I know that she is feeling God's trust in God and His grace and His peace as she hands this role on to Lucy, and as she takes on a new one with Ken as being the chancellor at LCU. I have been so blessed to know Lucy, and we're talking together because we have taught classes together, and we have been partners in teaching. But I've just been personally blessed to know her during the 19 years that Steve and I were in California, and particularly to team up with her in Community Bible Study in Malibu for a lot of those years. You can see she's lovely on the outside, but she is so lovely on the inside. She has God's wisdom. She is an unselfish problem solver. To make room for new groups in Community Bible Study, she brought her electric drill and undid the screws in pews in the church, and we moved them so that we could have more circles. We called her Rosie the Riveter, and she can listen to a million ideas. If you've been in committee meetings with women, they have lots of ideas. And then she can suggest a simple solution that everybody can really do. That's a wonderful quality. She's gentle, but she's strong. She gives honest counsel. She gives away the credit, takes the blame. Her calm confidence keeps those around her going in the midst of stress and uncertainty, and I've experienced that. She is a woman who other women go to when they're in crisis. That's a pretty bad sign when you start crying when you're introducing the speaker. My daughter-in-law has gone to her for parenting advice, and I just treasure that. Lucy is the one she trusts, and she cares about who she trusts. She's sought after because of her compassionate listening, and she's a great advisor. She trusts, she prays to, she talks to, she listens to Jesus Christ. I know these things because of years of working with her, and you will know them too, because you're going to get to work with Lucy Perrin.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It is so encouraging to look out from this view and see all these faces. I appreciate you so much for being here, and I hope that I get a chance over the next weeks and months to know every one of you. I want to say how much it's meant to us to have the blessing and the encouragement of Ken and Susie Jones as we come alongside in this work. It's just, we felt so welcomed and so supported, and I do thank you so much, not only for your leadership for the last 19 years, but for the way that you've welcomed us. So thank you, Susie. And the same can be said for Emily and Steve. We have felt their welcome as well, their warm welcome. And we appreciate all that they've done through the years to love LCU and to bring it to the point where it is. And so thank you. Thank you for welcoming me, and thanks for standing with me. I want to say, too, I can't let this opportunity go by without thanking all of you who have so kindly offered sympathy at the passing of Tim's mother in the middle of August. We miss her, especially today. I miss her. And so thank you to all of you for the way that you've ministered to us through that. It's been very helpful. We appreciate that. Well, since I was a student in 1986, I, of course, have known that LCU is a very special place. But in spite of all those years that I spent here as an undergrad, and in spite of the fact that I married into one of the founding families who invested their life, really, here into seeing this place grow and thrive, in spite of that fact, there's really a lot about this place that I don't know. And so as I hit the ground here, in addition to unpacking boxes this summer, I had the happy task of sort of listening to people and meeting with people to hear their LCU story and their wonderful experiences of what makes this place what it is. And I read the history book, you know, that history book that was published on the 50th anniversary in 2007. I read that thing cover to cover, and it's fascinating. And I toured the Arnett House, and I read all of the scrapbooks that the associates have. There are some great, a lot of these pictures come from those scrapbooks, and there are newspaper articles in that. So I looked through all of that. That was a great weekend. I spent a whole weekend doing that. And I read out here in the Wall of Honor, I read all the plaques. Some of them you can't see, but we have that text in a PDF form, and so you can get it, and you can read them all, and you can appreciate and know all of those wonderful members of the faculty and the staff who gave their lives here in this place. I talked with some alumni. We've had a couple of alumni events already, and so I had a chance to hear, everybody has a story they want to tell you about their time at LCU, so I got to hear some great stories from alums. Also, just some community members from the city of Lubbock. I've gotten to sit down with some of those and hear about the impact of LCU in the broader community, which is significant. And yet, I know, after having done all that, and having visited with students as well, I know that there's so much more to this place that I've really only scratched the surface of what there is to know about this wonderful university. And so I want to invite you in the next weeks and months to come and tell me your LCU stories. I really want to hear them. I want to hear what you've experienced here and what makes this place the special place that it is. So I hope that you'll share with me those stories. Well, Emily and I are going to visit about some of the things that I uncovered, and I hope that you will be interested in some of these stories.
Are we on okay? This is fun. Is it possible that there's anyone here today who was at the original groundbreaking where you brought your own shovel?
I don't know.
Oh, good.
So good.
Look at that. A lot. I was too. I remember the shovels, and I think there's a picture to prove it, but I was there. And who's the youngest today? Whoever is the youngest here, I don't know who that would be.
There's some of our students.
Oh, yeah, some of our students. Some of our students. I think you may be on hand to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lubbock Christian. So we really can reach out and touch a century of history in this room.
So we should tell these stories, I guess.
We should.
They're what will last.
They will last. They live on.
As the dreams for a Christian college on the South Plains started to form back in the early 50s, one of the things that I uncovered that the founding members did was the founders of the college, they met with not only large groups of Christians on the South Plains, but they went into homes. They sat down with families and they made the case for the Christian college in the Lubbock area. And they asked for help, they asked for support. And so they just talk about a sacrifice. They went family by family and sat in the living rooms and asked for help. And some of the alums that I visited with, they said, I remember those visits. You know, I remember when Mom and Dad sat in the living room and talked to those men about the possibility of a Christian college in Lubbock. And one of them in particular said, I wasn't school age yet, I wasn't old enough to go to college yet, but Mom and Dad started right then and there sending money so that it would be there when we got to be old enough to go.
That's right. My mother still sends money. Hoping maybe I'll come back.
So good.
A lot of loving sacrifice went into LCU. And I know the first president, F.W. Maddox, sold his Arkansas farm to buy 6,500 books from a he put in his books and he brought somebody else's collection. He put sides on this pickup, loaded 6,500 books in the pickup and drove them to Lubbock, and that was the seed of the library, which now is off into the land of technology with hundreds of thousands of books. But that was the beginning, that faith, that sacrificial love. From the beginning, the board has also been dedicated, and they have made a lot of trips to support games. A lot of them live far away, and they drive to games and meetings and participate in the associates with their spouses. They go to all the functions they can just to show up.
One family in particular, and there are many families like this, one family in particular gave a large gift in honor of their daughter because they wanted to do something to help young people. And then when they saw the good that it did through the years, they gave more. They gave land and homes to benefit the college and to benefit the young people that would come to it. And still, I think today, one of the most remarkable things about LCU is the dedicated board members that we do have. And recently, we were blessed to have lunch with a trustee and his wife in a nearby town. They bought us a plate of enchiladas, which is my favorite. And so over this plate of enchiladas, I was so moved as the trustee's wife told me that it was one of the great joys of her life to be able, at this point in her life, to fund scholarships for young people from her community that otherwise wouldn't be able to go to college. And she teared up, and I just knew she meant it. And it's a joy, she said, to be able to give like that. So we do have amazing board members who are dedicated and sacrificial.
Sacrificial. So much loving sacrifice.
Also, there's an important man that spends a lot of his time pleading our case before the legislature and politically is active on behalf of our cause. And he doesn't want the credit. He does it because he believes in LCU and in her mission.
That's so great.
One of the things that I meant to bring over here today, and I forgot to go and get it, it hangs on the wall of Warren McNeil's office. He found it somewhere along the way, and he put it in a frame and hung it on his wall. And it's a list of the original faculty, the people who attended the first faculty meeting. And so it's this wonderful list of names of those first people who believed in the mission and showed up. One of those women we received a card from just recently. She had gotten the invitation, I guess, to the inauguration, and she wrote back. She said, I'm 92, my husband is 97 now. She said, traveling is too daunting for us. to be able to come to the inauguration, but she said, I just appreciate being remembered as an original faculty member, and she said, we wish your new president well, you know, she put his name. It was so sweet, very sincerely yours, and she signed her name, and I just thought, I wish I could have known her.
I wish you could have.
I need to travel to
And
go
you
see
do,
her.
you need
I
to
do.
go,
Yeah.
because I remember her, and Lucy showed me the note, and I just remember her as a very saintly woman. She just almost glowed, and she was very thin, and and I just think, as a much younger person, I remember that she gave, I think they had been in the Foreign Service in their young years. I just remember this, and they had tables from the Middle East, and her priceless table that was worth a lot of money, she sold to give the money to LCU. And I was so impressed as a young person that she would sell this treasured possession to give to LCU. She really is
So
still a
much loving
saint.
sacrifice.
So
She
much
is.
loving
And from the
sacrifice.
beginning, the college has had well-qualified and dedicated faculty who have shared that vision from the founders and also from the board members. And really, I think that's a point that's worth making, is that the faculty, especially in those early days, was really called on to live sacrificially in order to be here at this place doing what they were doing. There's one semester, at least I know, where when the school was out at Christmas time, the end of the fall semester, there was real fear that it wouldn't be able to reopen come January. Financially, it was just very uncertain. And I asked a woman who was a student at that time, she was telling me about it, I asked her, how did you know whether to even come back after Christmas, you know? And she had a big smile and she said, we didn't know, we just came. And that's what the faculty did, especially in those early years. They didn't know, they just came.
They did.
And they're still trusting. They're still trusting.
They are. They're in a different way. Now, of course, it's very different. I'm struck just coming back after 19 years with the depth of scholarship among the faculty. There's a beautiful brochure about the publications and the conferences that the faculty have spoken for. This is a new level of academic excellence that has come to be in this last 19 years and been supported by the administration. And I just think it's a different place, but it still has that DNA of love and service and sacrifice that those early days had. And when one board member said, the only sure thing we had was each other. And I think it's still that sense of community that is just unique. There is no place on earth like this that we have each other.
And as I was hearing stories, it really was the dedicated faculty that people wanted to talk the most about. Everybody had a good story about that.
One of the professors I remember was famous for her breakfast reviews before finals, and all of her students would come to her house for breakfast. And
I had one professor's wife made cobbler for our whole class. We went on a field trip, and afterwards we swung by her house, and she had a hot cobbler waiting for us there. Just stories like that. You just can't beat it.
It's really great. Love it.
One professor, at least that I know of, paid the tuition for one semester for a student who wasn't going to be able to stay in school otherwise, and this faculty member and his family paid the tuition. And there are just so many examples of teachers, and maybe that's something that you'll be able to tell me. You'll have a story for me, I'm sure. If you went through LCU, you have a story about a teacher that reached out to you and maybe mentored you through a difficult time, or maybe just showed you that extra love. That's just, LCU is just about that. It's in our DNA, like you said.
It's in our DNA. Someone pointed out that the faculty really stay in touch with their students, and it's not just personal attention, it's really love. And I think when the students come back, that's who they're looking for, is their favorite teacher. And the professors know and love the students.
There was a great quote, I think it was in that the LCU history book. There's a great quote from one alum who said, "Isn't it great God gave us LCU, not just because of what we learned, but because of who touched our lives?" And I thought that is really true.
And they're still doing it.
And they are. They're just on the front lines of it. They're still doing it.
I talked to a professor yesterday who had just had 30 of his students in his home, and the whole family worked to clean up and get ready for them, and the students sat around outside, and he had a devotional for them while they made s'mores and after dinner, and they talked about who they were, and he talked about who he hoped they would become.
Wow, that's amazing. Another thing here that you can't not know it as soon as you spend any time here at all, and that is what an amazing sense of community there is here. It's one of the things you notice the most. I love all the stories about everybody pitching in to do whatever there is to be done. There are so many of these stories. It's just like everybody bringing their shovel.
Yeah,
to
that's right.
That whatever there was to be done, people just do it. This is a great list, and this is just part of what I heard. There was at least one president's wife, a school nurse, and dean of students who did painting inside Katie Rogers Hall and inside the Moody Auditorium, some of them at each of those places, just because it needed to be done. It needed to be done, and they did it. At least one president, we all know, mowed the lawn, which is a great story. You should look that one up. And one that I know washed windows to prepare for an accreditation visit to make the school look the very best that it could look, because it mattered. We needed to be accredited, and it worked.
And it worked. And it worked.
Clean windows.
That's great.
Clean windows. Also, the wife of one executive vice president planted flowers on campus, and then she continued to care for them.
She knew they would die if she didn't water them. That was before. Doesn't it look beautiful? The campus looks better than it ever has, and that was before the groundsmen and water.
And then that
later.
same student, that same woman then,
woman.
she started a program to help students with low grades get the tutoring that they needed. And so, like I said, people just so much good, so much loving sacrifice. They do whatever they need to do.
An early social club at LCU raised money to buy trees. They raised enough money to buy 50 trees. And one of the social club members said that the pictures of LCU, they always crossed 19th and took them from that direction because that's the only way you could get a tree. And as far back as you could. And she said, today, when I see how big those trees have grown, it gives me great joy to see the vision we had for the campus. Lots of loving sacrifice. The staff also is just as important to the mission, and they have served as club sponsors or they host students in their home. I think some students come back to homecoming just to see a staff member. One woman told about having international students out to visit on their farm, and one of the students was an international student from Africa who he said, we've never seen a horse, we just see cowboy movies sometimes. And he got on a horse and he said, yippee, I'm a cowboy. He said, all my life I've wanted to be a cowboy. So, I love that story.
There are many great stories, great examples, and we're skipping some, but they're all here, they're all important. They all touch the lives of students. I want to move because I want to make sure that we get to talk about the associates.
Oh yes, the associates.
If you want to hear great stories, talk to a member of the associates. They have wonderful stories. They work hard. They work really hard. In fact, one of my favorite newspaper articles that's in their scrapbook tells it has a quote from a woman. They were talking about the cookbooks, the original cookbooks that they've made, and the newspaper article, the woman said, "It was a joy, hard work, and the most fun we ever had." And I think what an amazing statement, you know, given how hard they work. This is one of the original ones, the blue one, the red one. I want to see a show of hands. How many of you have these cookbooks? There you go. There you go. This is an amazing thing. These cookbooks, I was told that the blue one, in all of its various iterations, they've sold more than 36,000 copies of this cookbook. And the story's not over yet because they have a new edition of treasured recipes right here. So it's even better. It's still going on.
Most of the labor for the cookbook, of course, was done by very smart women who knew how to organize things and who worked their fingers to the bone. And I remember then telling about collating it around tables and how many miles they walked just getting these books assembled. And a lot of them, you know the names of women who, one, always had an armful of cookbooks at every function, church. If you went to the restroom anywhere, there she was. And several of you who are here today had your trunks full of cookbooks. You may still, and always ready to sell the cookbook. Made a difference.
One fun story about that, again, it was from an AJ articles like 1962. One printing of these blue cookbooks, they kept having to print more, right, because they were selling out. So one printing of 1,000 of these blue cookbooks came back with an error on the cover, and it said treasured receipts. And they had to use them. They had a book sale coming. They had a recipe book sale coming up. They had to use them, so they went ahead and sold them. And so, does anybody own a copy of Treasured Receipts? No, I've heard they're collector's items.
Yeah, it is. It should be on the Antiques Roadshow.
So yeah, it should. But the real thing that I love about these cookbooks is they give us a common culture and a common language, right? We all know the favorite recipes, and we know each other and can talk to each other around the community that is established by these books. And I think that's a very important thing that the books accomplish. One woman that I talked to who, she submitted and I'm not sure if it's in the red or the blue, but she submitted the Italian cream cake recipe. And she said that at one point in her life, they got new neighbors. Someone new moved in next door. And the new woman, I don't know how, the new woman really didn't know much about LCU, didn't have much of an association with LCU, but she realized that this was the woman who had submitted the Italian cream cake recipe. And she was so excited. She said, she called out to her son, "This is the woman from the Italian cream cake recipe." So it made connections. This cookbook made connections.
It did. Many of these people, of course, many of you have received LCU cookbooks for wedding presents, and one community member said that was her first exposure to LCU, and she got a cookbook from a woman at a shower, and she said, "I knew they really cared about me because they gave me the blue cookbook."
So much good has been accomplished by all that hard work. Well, a couple of weeks ago, and those of you that were there will know this, a couple of weeks ago at a general meeting of the associates, there were some stories shared, great stories shared about the beginning of the corn booth at the South Plains Fair. And the school at that time had come to the associates and had a big project that was really, really needed to be done. The bathrooms, showers, and the parlor maybe of the boys' dorm, Johnson Hall, really needed work. And so the school came to the associates and said, "Can you help us accomplish this?" And those women, they just were undaunted. At the time, the bill was going to be over $100,000, and that was many times more than they had previously collected in an entire year. And so these women, with the help of a local banker, they went in and borrowed the money in order to accomplish that. And in order to borrow the money, they of course were required to sign promissory notes for that, for the amount. And so many of them did this without their husbands knowing, evidently. Oh,
sacrificial love.
Absolutely.
But they paid it all back, right?
They paid it all back. In fact, it was a 5-year loan, and they paid it back in 3 years. And at the end, they had a note-burning gala. So they all got together. And
some of the
notes.
husbands wondered what the fire was about.
But that was the year, right, that the corn booth started, and
that
just
was it.
Hundreds of hours of volunteers.
Oh, I know, and they were just getting some of the the associates officers. I wish Dickie were here, but a lot of you are here anyway. But some of the officers drove around to all kinds of fairs and watched and looked at the corn booth. I'm sure the corn booth at the Texas State Fair thought they were the FBI or something. But they were trying to learn how to do it best, and they came back and worked at it, and they made friends with the health department. And of course, nobody is more sanitary than the associates. Nobody is cleaner than the associates. But they still had to have the friendship of the authorities to do it.
Well, I just couldn't resist reading you part of the list of all of the things that the associates have donated through the years. It's a very long list, and I don't come close to reading it all, but it gives you a sense of what the associates have been able to accomplish for the college and how much good has been done by all of their loving sacrifice. They donated that wonderful reading room furniture in the library, in addition to dorm furnishings.
Intercom systems for dorms, vacuum cleaners, lawn sprinkler systems.
A baby grand piano, chorus robes.
Paint, acoustical ceilings and drapes, a used tractor.
Band instruments, a human skeleton for the science department.
An adding machine for the development department. That was a long time ago.
Basketball goals, glass backboards.
They repaired a leak in Katie Rogers' parlor, provided field house heaters and light fixtures. By the way, have you seen the field house?
The field house is magnificent.
You've got to go see it. It has a rock climbing wall, state-of-the-art fitness.
Unbelievable. It was really unbelievable.
Go ahead, sir.
They provided a drinking fountain for the student center and typewriters.
A water still for the chemistry department, air conditioners for the dorms.
Microscopes, computers, a mobile nursing unit.
The soccer field.
I'm telling you, this list goes on and on. It's an amazing list, and it would encourage you all. The thing that I learned, though, is that they are nearing $3 million in total gifts to the university, selling corn and pies and cookbooks.
They're amazing, amazing group of dedicated women, and men also can be associates, too.
Well, I'll finish by saying thank you again for what you mean to LCU and for being part of what makes this place so special. And we just appreciate you letting us share. And I really do mean it. Please tell me your LCU stories. I want to hear them.
Thank you.
Well, I want to introduce to you now one of my new friends, and I'm so glad to have met Claudia recently. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Claudia. She and her entire family really have been such great friends and supporters for LCU over the years, and in many ways. And so thank you for coming to share with us today about LCU and the impact in the impact in the community. Claudia and Mark have been married for 34 years. They have 3 grown and successful children. Her daughters Lauren and Emily are married. Lauren and Max lives in Washington, D.C., and Emily and Ryan just moved to Knoxville, Tennessee this summer. And their son Jeff is in his 2nd year of law school at Texas Tech. And just reading through what you provided for me, it sounds like Claudia can pretty much do anything she wants to do. It's amazing. She's a former small business owner, among many other things. But the main thing that stood out to me about Claudia is that she's a servant. That is very apparent. And she's currently serving in leadership in the children's program at Bible Study Fellowship and also with the Chi Omega Sorority House Corporation. In the past, she served in leadership roles with the YWCA board, with Susan G. Komen for the Cure, with Family Outreach, with the Junior League and the LISD PTA. See what I mean? She can do anything she wants to do, and she is a servant. She says, though, that her favorite role is being in a supporting role to her husband, and she feels really blessed to be able to be a mother to her children and to be actively involved in their activities. And she said her favorite new hobby is traveling to see her daughters and sons-in-law in Virginia and Tennessee. So she's got that route down right now. She has a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas in Austin. Help me welcome Claudia Griffin.
Well, you know, I'm really honored to be here, and I think it's guilt by association being a member of the Griffin family. And I really wondered when they asked me, and I thought, they told me who was on the program, and I thought, it's all the first ladies and former first lady. Susie Jones will close with prayer. So I guess I'm the last lady. So anyway, you get what you get. I want to just share a few thoughts, and I may be one of the ones you talked about, Lucy, when you and Emily were talking about the associates and showers where the cookbooks were given, because I was one of those fortunate ones, and they gave me not only the blue copy, but the red copy. So I took that as a hint, and my mother-in-law, Geneva Griffin, told me that one of Mark's favorite dishes was chicken spaghetti. Well, I'd never made chicken spaghetti. I grew up in the Dallas area. My mom never made that, so I thought, oh dear, what do I do? So I looked in those cookbooks, and luckily there were 5 or 6 recipes, and I became a master of chicken spaghetti. So the way to my husband's heart was through the LCU blue and red cookbooks, and my family thanks you even today. I want to give you a few more connections of the Griffin family just because that's what I know. But like you, and many of you could speak to this, you have ties a lot more special and deep to Lubbock Christian University. But after the Associates Cookbook, my first daughter, when she was a baby, I would only leave her with family members. Family members are Miss Gandy at Broadway, Church of Christ, and when I came up and I needed a sitter and didn't have one, where did I turn? The early childhood department. Education majors at LCU, and they were the best babysitters and came to be good friends of ours. As a former gift shop owner and employer, I did hire employees, and they were very dependable and qualified from the LCU campus, and was very grateful, and we flourished because of them. Then just this last May, one of our nephews, Hayden Patterson, was a 2012 graduate from Lubbock Christian University, and we were all so proud. And he is now a graduate assistant at Wayland Baptist University in Plainview. Then one very special connection to this mother's heart, anyway, is my son-in-law, Ryan Owen, who attended LCU on a baseball scholarship, and he graduated, and just before he and Emily were married in 2007, he had plans to go to medical school. And thanks to his hard work and the special interest of the Lubbock Christian University professors, Ryan was able to attend Texas Tech Medical School and graduated this past May, and now that's what takes he and Emily to Knoxville, Tennessee, and he's in his first year of residency in urology there. So he's on a good path, and I owe a lot of that to LCU. You know, LCU has a record of placement in professional schools, not just medical school, but law school, dentistry, nursing, business, just to mention a few. And I think that speaks volumes as to the academic preparedness that they have from LCU and the special interest that the professors take there. These young professionals then feed into our communities and are capable of being the leaders of tomorrow. Then there's my father-in-law, Rip Griffin. And through his stories and through his years, I have come to learn that a lot of our association with Lubbock Christian University is through the relationships. And most particularly, he has a very dear relationship with Larry Hayes. And it was his passion for baseball and Coach Hayes' passion for baseball that connected the two. And because of this shared passion, Mr. Griffin began to experience just the life-changing events that were going on the Lubbock Christian campus and through the students and the administration and the faculty. He witnessed firsthand these students evolving into campus leaders and then leaders in our community. That exposure to LCU has translated into a 35-year-plus years of service as a trustee with LCU. And once again, it's the relationships with the other trustees, the former presidents, and most recently President Ken Jones that have strengthened his resolve and his commitment even to this day. Okay, that's enough about the Griffins and our ties, because I know each of you have many stories that you could tell. What I'm really here to do is talk to you about the connection between LCU and the community. LCU, as Emily and Lucy talked about, drew its first breath from the Church of Christ leaders and the community leaders. And in 1956, when Dr. Maddox was named the first president of Lubbock Christian College, little could he know that out of this cotton field of dreams would come a bumper crop of well-educated young men and women ready to take their role in our community. Now move on with me. I'm just going to skip around through the decades, but move on with me as we travel to 1970. There are those of you in the audience who will remember or who experienced the tornado of 1970. I did not grow up here, but I heard about this from my husband. We've been down to East Lubbock to see where things happened. I remember the big hole in the Lubbock Club of the glass that they have framed. At any rate, Lubbock Christian College took on the relief efforts in helping the community, and they became a vital source of clean water for our community back then. The field house became a distribution point for relief efforts, and the wells on campus provided clean water for our community. What a way for LCU to give back to the community. Then in 1972, Lubbock Christian went from a 2-year college to a 4-year college, proving that they had the stamina, the strength, the growth, and the service to commit to our community. Then how about the years 1976 through 82, when there's just a highlight under the leadership of Dr. Harvey Pruitt, the Water Research Project was developed, and LCC was awarded a $9.5 million grant from the EPA. This was the largest grant ever given to a college of this size. This grant allowed LCC to move to the forefront in water research, and that is a resource vital to our communities today. During Dr. Stephen Limley's service as the 4th president, he and Emily saw Lubbock Christian College become Lubbock Christian University. And as he was at the helm, they transitioned from a college to university and experienced much growth and stability. Now Lubbock had 2 universities in which to be proud. Following Dr. Limley's leadership, Dr. Ken Jones became president of LCU, and he and his wife, Susie, were at the helm. The years of service given by these presidents and their wives, amazing to me. I just know the time and the involvement. You've heard the stories, and you each have your own. Under Dr. Jones' leadership, the enrollment went over 2,000 students. And in the year 2000, that's something special to our family, the building of the Rip Griffin Center was begun. The RIP, as it's affectionately called, I understand, I hear that on the radio, draws teams and tournaments to our city and to our community, and that, as well as this conference, the Baker Conference Center, is sometimes the introduction or the front door to LCU, and it's sometimes the first way people have ever known about it. One of the most profound opportunities under Dr. Jones' tenure has been the Evening With series. I hope you've been fortunate enough to attend at least one of those. These leadership dinners, where those in attendance shared an evening with General Colin Powell or former President George W. Bush, or finally, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, brought dignitaries to the city of Lubbock. No one else had ever done that before. And it's our community that was blessed because of the big dreams of the little cotton field, Lubbock Christian College, that grew into a university. In 2006, the big student event took place. And I understand, and I kind of remember this, the LCU students, faculty, staff, and alumni took on the project of building a Habitat for Humanity house on the campus. I think it took place in the Johnson Hall parking lot, and they had a marathon build for like 36 some hours at first, and then students continued to work on that. Many of you probably remembered or worked on it or knew someone who did, and they continued to work on it until it was ready to be transported to the Habitat community in Lubbock. A day of community service is held each spring called Collide, and a lot of you may have participated in that. I was interested to see what all they had done. Individual students and student groups have the opportunity to do what may be sometimes random acts of service. And this last year, over 400 students participated. What a way to give back to the Lubbock community. It also shows the character that is nurtured, developed, and thrives at LCU. The graduates from LCU have learned and earned their way into our communities. They've learned to be good Christian citizens and are an example and exemplary to all of us. The School of Education at LCU continues to graduate teachers ready to serve on day one. My husband would often comment, when he was an LISD trustee, that they would hire LCU graduates without condition because he knew they were so prepared to take their role in as this honored position. As teachers, LCU graduates have a profound and positive influence on the children of our communities. And in 2012, with the announcement of the relationship between Covenant Health Systems and Lubbock Christian University, the Department of Nursing has taken flight. Graduates will take their faith-based, service-oriented, and the most excellent of educations with them as they spread their wings as healthcare providers in our communities. I don't know if you knew this, I learned this through my reading and studies, but LCU is known for their green initiatives. They serve as an example here in Lubbock. Since 2003, not only have resident halls and other buildings been converted to ground source heat pumps to heat and cool the facilities, which reduces the utility costs by 2/3. Pretty amazing. I'd love to do that at our house. But the Welcome Center at LCU achieved the platinum level in low energy usage. What great stewards in our community and what leaders for tomorrow. I hope that you've been enlightened by a few of these thoughts and facts that have come your way today. I know that Lubbock Christian University has a profound influence in our community. Our community is so blessed that the legacy of faith-based service and education is continuing with LCU's new president, Lucy. And we look forward to your years of service as we continue our support to LCU, and we look forward to many years to come. The Lubbock community is so blessed to have you on board, and because of the presence of LCU in our midst. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michelle Kraft. I'm the Assistant Dean of the J.E. and Eileen Hancock College of Liberal Arts and Education, and I'm a professor in art here at Lubbock Christian University. Before I introduce our next speaker, Susie Jones, I want to just say a word of thanks to the LCU dining services for this wonderful meal that they provided for us. They're feeding us all week, and they've just been doing a smashing job. It's been really great, so let's give them a round of applause. I also want to express appreciation to Dr. Ruth Holmes, who has accompanied our meal with her piano playing earlier, and so it's just been wonderful to have her do that for us, and she is always so service-oriented in that way and so very talented. So a big thanks to Dr. Ruth Holmes as well. It's just a real spiritual gift to be known as an encourager, in the way that Barnabas in the book of Acts is known as an encourager. And that is the real and rare gift of former First Lady Susie Jones. I know that anytime, she's just been a rock of encouragement and support as she has stood beside Dr. L. Ken Jones in his role the past 19 years as president of Lubbock Christian University. And she's been an encouragement like that to so many of us in this room as well. Anytime I have encountered her for just a few moments of brief conversation, I have always come away feeling better than I did before, and I might have been feeling pretty good in the first place. And I know that so many of you have been blessed in the same way by your encounters with Susie Jones, and so I feel so humbled and honored to be able to introduce her to us as she is going to bless us again. And so I give you the 5th First Lady of Lubbock Christian University and the wife of our current Chancellor, Dr. Ken Jones, Mrs. Susie Jones.
There's a song that we used to sing in church when I was a little girl. And the first words in that song say, "Time is filled with swift transitions. Naught of earth unmoved can stand. Build your hopes on things eternal. Hold to God's unchanging hand." Ken's and my time here at LCU is a testimony to the fact that time truly is filled with swift transitions. 19 years in a lot of ways seems like a long time. But to Ken and me, the years have passed by so very quickly, and they have been filled with blessings from God. He has made the years good, so good. I would like to think and hope that all of us are praying and that we're confident that our Father will keep right on blessing LCU and that He will bless the parents as they now lead the place. Would each one of you please come with me in prayer as we seek our Father's blessings on LCU's First Lady, Lucy, as she goes forward in this most wonderful and incredible journey. Let's pray. Our precious and loving Father, we bow down before you, the only true and living God. How blessed we are to know you, kind Father. We praise you for your perfect love and for your indescribable gift of Jesus. We love you so. Dear Father, thank you for LCU and for all of those that you have used in big ways and small ways to bless this school. We know we could never have survived, dear Father, without your almighty help. We would like to bring Lucy to you, Father, to ask for your mighty and wondrous blessings on her as she assumes the role that you have given her here at this moment in time. Please, dear Father, give her and her family good health and strength. Please bless her with much wisdom to be the helper that Tim needs in every situation. Please grant her peace and help to bring you the greatest of honor and glory. Please bless her with joy and happiness, and may she always hold firmly to your wondrous, loving, unchanging hand. We need your blessings upon this school. We need your blessings upon each of our families. And we need your blessings, Father, upon this nation. Please, kind Father, help us. We pray your will be done in all these things, and we thank you for your answers. And we ask you to hear us and to answer, because we come to you in the powerful and precious name of our Lord Jesus. Amen.
That's the good thing about it being a women's lunch. Justin, we're glad that you're here to witness that we could laugh and cry together. I hope you all have a lovely day. Please join us in all of the inauguration activities. This afternoon is an art gallery opening for the Woodturners. Tonight is a lovely concert over in the McDonald Moody starting at 7 with the band and choir. We're so glad that you could be here today. Have a great day.